Animation is displaying images in a slightly different position over time to give the illusion of movement. If you're interested, look at the history of animation and how it's changed and how it's been done differently over the years. Scratch sprites are positioned using an X and a Y position, where X is the left-right position and Y is the up-down position. The middle of the screen is positioned 0, 0. The X value on the right side of the grid is positive, on the left side is negative. Likewise, Y values at the top are positive and at the bottom are negative. Notice the four quadrants and whether the X, Y values are positive and negative. For instance, the upper left quadrant, X is negative, Y is positive. The lower right quadrant, X is positive and Y is negative. We can move the default Scratch sprite around by clicking on it and dragging it and placing it where we'd like to. As we move it, you'll notice that the X and the Y positions change accordingly. To animate, though, instead of moving it around by hand, we want to do this via code. So if we start out with our events, we can do the when space is pressed, and then under our motion we have some different options. One of our options is we can change the X by 10 positions, or we can change 10 to whatever. Notice when I click that, he moves the X position 10 spaces, or he moves to the right. In our control section, to do the animation, we want to do this with a repeat statement, or another kind of a looping statement where it's going to do it for us. Now notice he moved pretty quick there. So if we look also under the control, we have a wait, and it says wait 1 second. So if I put that in, and let's drag him back, notice he moves, but he's moving really slow. 1 second kind of seems like an eternity. If I click on the running block, it'll stop running, and we can make an adjustment. So instead of waiting a full second, we can do fractional parts of a second. So for instance, 0.5 is a half a second. So we can do that. He moves a little quicker. If I want to go even faster, I can do 0.1. Now, I don't want to keep having to manually move him around to start him out. So let's look up in the motion section, and we have an option there that says go to X. And notice when I move him around, the go to X also changes to whatever position I'm at. So I move him where I want, and then I can drag that out. And what that's telling me is start him in that position, and then let's run the rest of the code. There we go. I can run him again. He goes back to where I told him to start, and then he moves. Okay. Now, in addition to moving forward, I'm going to take this code and I'm going to duplicate it. We'll put it right below, and let's put that back in. Now this time I want to move to the right 10 at a time for 10 times, but then I want to move back as well. So let's run this code. Notice he goes forward, he goes backwards. Okay. Now I can also, let's duplicate our code again. And this time, instead of changing X, I'm going to come down and I'm going to grab the block that says change Y, and we'll put the wait with the change Y. We'll move that back, and let's go ahead and duplicate this while we're here. Okay, so we're going to change Y by 10. Now if we change it by 10, that's going to go up. If we change it by negative 10, that's going to go down. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll go 10 space, or we'll go to the right. Then next we'll go to the Y, so we'll go up, and then we'll go back, and then we'll need a repeat block. One more of those. And he's not dragging out correctly. There we go. And then we will go down. Okay. And let's go ahead and run our code. Okay. Now, one other change we can make. If we look under costumes, notice we normally just see this image. There's also a second image. And notice when we look at those two images, it gives the illusion that he's running. So in the code, what we can do, under looks, we have an option that says next costume. So if I bring out the next costume and I move that in here, he's going to give us the illusion that he's moving. So I'll press the space bar. Okay. One other thing we can do is, let's say we want that to run through multiple times. We can do 3, 5, we can even do 10. So if I come back up, and we've got a big bunch of code right now, I can now take that and we'll run our space bar, and he'll do it the first time, and then he's going to do it the second time, and he'll do it one more time after that. Okay. Now also under the looks, we have two other blocks that could be helpful depending on what kind of animation we're doing. There's the show block, which he's visible now, and I can also hide him. So I can show him and I can hide him, and again, we can use that in our code. Now what we're going to do next is, let's add a new sprite. So we're going to pick choose sprite. Comes up and gives us a lot of options. We can narrow it down by category. If I know what I'm searching for, I can type the first few letters of that and look through my list, and I want the butterfly. Notice when I hover over some of the images, they change so I get an idea of what else is in the image. So I'm going to pick butterfly 2. Now what we'd like to do is we want to move the butterfly from the position down here up to the top corner. Okay. Notice our X, Y values. When we move it, we're going from big negative values to big positive values. So that's how we're going to have to move it. X is going to have to get bigger, Y is going to have to get bigger. Now, there's a number of ways to do this also, but what we're going to do is we're going to use variables this time. Variables give us a lot of flexibility when we're doing animation, and I'm going to leave them displayed up top so we can kind of see them change as our code's running. We will go ahead and drag out an event when the B is pressed, and then we're going to do some looping. Okay, and then we're going to do some motion, and this time we're going to look at this block that says glide 1 second to, and then a position. So in our variables, we want to, first of all, we'll set the X and the Y values to where we'd like them to be. So if I look on my screen, I'll start them out as X is negative 160, Y is negative 129, or I can round it up to 130. Okay. And then I'm going to move to X val and Y val. I'm going to move to those positions each time, and I'm going to do my glide in 0.10 or 0.1 seconds. So this is kind of like the wait put together with the moving the XY. Okay. The order of things, I want to first set my values to start the code out, and then I'm going to repeat. Then we're going to glide, and then again for the animation we want to switch to the next costume. Okay. Now notice when I run my code, he doesn't move. The reason he doesn't move because we've never changed the XY value. So I need to come back to here, and I'm going to say change my variable. So we're going to change the X val, and we're going to change the Y val. Okay, start out with, let's change them both by 10. And then we'll put that into our code, and then let's go ahead and run it. Okay, and then we can run it again and see what happens. Now, let's say I want him to go up faster. I still want him to go to the right the same amount of space, but I want to go up faster. So X is our left, right. Y is our up, down. So I want the Y to go by 15 instead of by 10. Let's go ahead and run our code. Notice he's ascending, or he's going up faster. Okay. Now, if I want him to move farther than he's moving, instead of 10, I can do 15. So we can go ahead and press the key for that. Okay. The other thing I can do, instead of repeating 15, I can do a calculation to calculate how many times I want him to do that. Okay. And notice we can take this code and we can have him fly down, for instance. So let's say we can duplicate this code and we'll snap it underneath. Okay. And we'll bring him back down to our starting position. So to think through this, he's moving up to here, and then if we want him to move down this direction, we want the X to continue to go to the right, so that'll still be a positive number, but the Y is going to be a negative number. So we'll have to come down here, and let's do a smaller value this time. So we'll change X by 3, and we'll change Y by also a negative 15. So we want him to move to the right slower, but we want him to still go down pretty fast. So let's run our code. Okay. So when you're doing animation, and the math term for this is called translate, we're moving the image around the screen. When you do your movements, always remember your grid. Think, is my X going left or right? Is my Y going left or right? And then that determines, is it positive or negative? And the bigger or the smaller values you use is the faster or slower that he'll appear to move. Also, you can adjust your weight or your glide time to make him go faster or slower as well. So try some things out and have a lot of fun coding in Scratch.